Welcome, folks. So, today I want to talk to you about landing page structure and what structure you need depending on the traffic or depending on where the customer is in the buying journey. Excuse me for a minute, my throat is dry. So, let's talk about it. So I saw this I took this from a LinkedIn post I saw. This guy was talking about how he structures his landing page layout, which I thought was interesting. But this type of structure, this way of laying out the landing page, only works for certain uh, customers in terms of where they are in the buying journey. So this works for people who have a high buying intent. So they already know their problem, they know the solution. Now they are looking for the service or the product to hire to get to their desired outcome. If you notice how it's laid out, it's got the hero section, which would be above the fold. So that would be like a headline, visuals, a subhead, social proof, and a call to action. But then below that, where it says who we help, that would be more so the below the fold section. And then you have how it works, pricing, client experience, and getting started. So you see, this is for people who are actually ready to buy. So, for example, people that's searching up your business and they're coming from Google. So if the traffic's from Google, then this might work. But what about if people don't know about your business, they don't know what you offer, and in terms of the buying journey, they're not quite there yet. They don't even, some people don't even know they have a problem. It's obvious this is not going to work because pricing, if somebody's, for example, if you're selling a high ticket product, and it also, for you to get the sale, it also require a sales call. You're not gonna get people going just seeing your ad and then buying your stuff. So let's say you are advertising on Facebook and then you get the click. As I said in one of my previous videos, Facebook is a social platform. It's for entertainment. So when you're advertising on these platforms, you're in essence interrupting people's scroll. So your messaging can't be direct because the trust is low. Some people don't even know they have a problem. Some people don't know what the solutions are. So you have to educate and nurture them. So this way of laying out the landing page, your conversion rates would probably be low as hell because people would just be like, well, I don't even trust this person and I'm not quite sure yet. I need more educating. Now, when it comes to, as I said, high ticket, where you also require sales call, the way to go about it is to provide a landing page with long copy where you're educating and you're giving that customer as much information as possible. Now, a lot of people is under this idea that people are not going to read long copy. Yes, the fuck they will. If somebody's buying something that's expensive, it's an investment. People will read long copy as long as it's engaging and it's relevant information. Because remember, if somebody's spending upwards of, even more than £500 upwards, it's not, they're not buying Heinz beans or ketchup or bread. They're actually making an investment. So they're going to want to make sure that they're spending their money in the right way. So they're going to want, what do we do before we buy anything? We research, and when people don't take an action or they don't make a move, is because they don't have enough information and there's too much uncertainty. So I truly believe, especially for lead generation, to get leads to then make the sale, you need to educate them as much as possible before even getting them onto a sales call. Because that's the another thing I want to talk to you about. A lot of the times, businesses will run ads and they will provide the least amount of information on the landing page. They'll just slap some information on there, and then it will be a mission to get these people to turn up. Whereas if you actually treat your landing page, reaching out to these colder audiences, as a way of telling your full story, as Claude Hopkins says, you will people will turn up to your sales call probably 50% already sold, and then obviously it's just down to you not to mess it up and to show them the right offer or give them the right offer for them to say yes, okay, I'll take you up on that offer. So when you are talking to these people, give them as much information as you need. It's like, it's not about how much copy do I need. It's like how much do I need to say to get this person to take the desired action I want them to take. Yeah. Now, when it comes to talking to, because in the last video I explained that your messaging has to be different, in terms of how you talk to traffic that's coming from Google. So somebody who searched for a business or a solution on Google, they have a high buying intent. So you can be direct. So in this, like, you can use the structure because that person is ready to buy. They just need, social proof, testimonials, just, and then obviously tell them how you're going to get them their results, and they're sold. Whereas when you're advertising to colder audiences who don't know who you are, where trust is low, your conversation, your messaging needs to be different. It can't be the same as Google. Google is for harvesting, picking ripe fruits. Yes, you can be direct. Whereas Facebook, these social platforms, you have to be more about nurturing, planting seeds, watering, educating. So even the way this landing page is laid out, this sounds like a one way. It's a monologue. It's not a dialogue. It's not. It doesn't sound like a conversation. Now, hold for a second. Let me explain a concept here for you. So you have to think, if somebody's not searching up for their problem. So if somebody's not on Google, it's like, okay, this is what I need. Then it tells you, because human psychology, human nature, we avoid pain. So if somebody's in pain and they haven't solved their problem, that means they either don't know how to solve it or they're in the process of finding out. So if they actually knew how to solve it, they would have done it already. Now, there's three things you want to address when you're talking to these kind of people who are not yet ready to buy. You want to be talking about the desired outcome. So talk about desire, you want to talk about identification. So you want to identify their problems, and that's, you do so by researching, seeing what people are complaining about, seeing how they describe their problem, and then using those same problems to convey the message that you want them to adopt. So when they see that you understand their problem, that's a form of identification. Then you also future pace them, and what I mean by that is like show them for example, if they want to become a high performer, show them that, hey, by choosing this product or by taking this sales call, this is your first step into achieving and becoming a high performer. So it's like talk about their problems and then also show them the future them as a way of using identification to resonate with their problems, because people want to know that you understand their issue, especially when they don't know or trust you. So the identification is how you do so. Now, the next bit now, so we've talked about the desire, we talk about the identification, and now the next bit is belief. Belief is something that you have to address when you're talking to colder audiences, because if you think about it like this isn't like the 1900s when advertising was fresh to everyone and you can just throw out claims and people believe you. Now the market is much more sophisticated. People have seen, I think the stat says we're exposed to at least 4,000 different ads per day. That's a lot. So it's like people have seen all of these claims, all of these adverts, and then people just they've just grown. They just adapt to them. So it's like people just zone them out. Also, many businesses out there get burnt by other businesses or people promising things and not delivering on them. So people have these, probably people are skeptical. People don't trust so easily anymore. So when it comes to beliefs, you have to think, okay, what is the customer's belief, whether that's true or false? And if it's false, how do I shift, not change? How do I rewrite their way of thinking? Because, for example, a customer might think, oh, this business is just the same as everyone else. They're just telling us that they can get us results X, Y, and Z. But how do you get them to show that? How do you show them that, hey, that was the old way, and yes, you're right. Businesses out there have said this and not delivered, but this is how we do things differently. Now, how you build belief is by starting with the narrative that they've got in their heads. Don't try to disagree with them, because if you do that, you're just going to rub people the wrong way, and you're going to create reactance, which is a psychological principle where people, when you tell people, oh, they feel like you're trying to persuade them, they'll just do the opposite of what you're asking. So don't start off by disagreeing. What you should do is agree with them, like, hey, you're right. You're right that most businesses out there are doing X, Y, and Z and not delivering results. And then you build what you call a belief bridge. So how you build a belief bridge, you start with what they agree with, and then slowly you start getting them to nod to say yes, and then slowly you put forward your argument that you're trying to get them to see, or the perspective you're trying to get them to adopt. But when you start with where they're at, as in the things that they in themselves tell themselves that they believe, then you're getting the nod. You're getting the nod. Then when you put the new idea in front of them, they're more receptive compared to if you just slammed it straight away, like, hey, this is the new way. They're just going to reject it straight off the bat. So that's how you build a belief bridge. And if you watch my second video for a landing page audit, this the second episode. So I done a episode on that landing page for Brain FM where I built a belief bridge, but I done it in the in a storytelling mode. And that's another way to build belief, is by telling stories, because what it does, it shifts the person that's reading the story into their emotional mode, rather than being analytical. If I was to build a belief bridge by just stating facts and figures and being analytical, then that people just zone out. But if you tell a story, it just bypasses the analytical brain, and it goes to the amygdala, which is the emotional side of our brain. So that's how you build a belief bridge. So I know I went off on a little tangent there, but when you're talking to colder audiences, you have to think about their identity. You have to identify with them. You have to also talk about their desires, show them that you can get them the results. And the third and one of the most important thing is, what false beliefs do they have that you need to shift to then get them to take the desired action that you want them to take. Doing that, for example, if somebody's a say for example somebody's skeptical, and this is how you've and they're not quite sure of the solutions out there, and they need educating, you can see how this is not going to work. This, the way we've laid it out here, or the way this gentleman has laid out his landing page, it's not going to work, because people, they've still got these false beliefs that you need to shift. So leave this for people who are ready to buy. So if this is on Google, absolutely fine. But when you're then reaching out to colder audiences, you have to um, attack it from a different standpoint by doing as what we discussed, especially those three elements. So now this is not the full thing, but this is sort of a way that I structure my landing page. And it's as you can see here, obviously these are just like outlines, but it would make the copy longer. And there's a saying, the more you tell, the more you sell. So or the length implies strength, heuristic, where the longer a landing page appears, it's like the more credible it seems. Provided you haven't written rubbish. But for example, and this would be the below the fold. So after people see the above the fold and then they scroll down, as you can see here, you start with the identification. So you mirror their pain, talk about their problems, and future pace them like, hey, we know the type of person you're aspiring to be, and you can get this through, you know, going with us or using our product or service or our solution. And then the belief bridge, which is destroying any false belief they have, because that's what holds people back from getting to the solving their problems. These false beliefs that maybe they can't do it, or it won't work for them, or everyone in that market is the same, every business in that market is the same, they're all scammers, or whatever false belief they have in their head. So that's the next thing you attack. And then you have to bring in a new mechanism. And what I mean by that is that introduce your unique solution of doing things. Remember, as I said, the market is sophisticated. People have seen every claim, every offer out there, and they're now immune to it. So you have to divorce yourself from everyone else and show the buyer, the customer, the potential, the prospect, that you have a new mechanism, a new way, a unique way of doing things. That's the old way. This is the new way of doing things, and you can only get your desired results through our system. So the reason why this works is that, think about it, because we're so bombarded by so much ads and the same ads saying the same thing. What happens when we exposed to stimulus for a long time? It then creates predictability, and then we adapt. So you have to use the novelty bias, where, because our brains are wired for novelty. So that's how the novelty bias will help you in this regard, because it's gonna say, oh, they're gonna think, oh, I've never heard of, how does that work? Next, you talk about the benefits, show them what it delivers, what can it do for them, because, as I said, people don't care really about the actual thing, the utility. They care about what it's going to do for them. So after you do the identification, the belief bridge, you shift their belief, and then you show the novelty, hey, a new way of doing things. You show them, like, hey, this is what it can do for you. Now, in the next step, you got to think, people, when they're researching or they're making a decision, they compare, and you have to have contrast, like how there's light and dark, day and night, Batman, um Batman, super it's not Batman, Superman, Batman, and who is Superman, Clark, and Lex Luthor. So there's always like a us versus them. Who is Batman's nemesis? It's penguin. Is it penguin? I don't know, but you get where I'm coming from. So you have to have a us versus them, because your buyer, your customer, is not going to be just thinking. They're not going to just look at you. They're going to think, okay, what are my options here? And they're going to compare one, two, or three other options before they actually make a decision, or they're going to compare to another competitor. So what you want to do is absolutely annihilate your competitor. I want to say annihilate. I don't mean like to do it in a evil way. Gracefully sort of show their shortcomings. And what I mean by that is like saying, like, yes, X, Y, and Z does this, but have you considered that, do it in a way where you're not bashing them? Because people, when if you openly just bash your competitor, it's going to leave a bad taste in your prospect's mouth. So you do it gracefully and just showing, like, hey, they do this, but this is how we're different, and this is how we can get you X results. So you're kind of like making the competition obsolete, so making them a unattractive option compared to yours. Now the next thing is like, why should they believe you? And that's where you show your authority, or show how long you've been doing this, or the results, or your credibility in terms of, okay, are you a doctor in the field, or are you endorsed by scientists, or um people with high credibility. So it's like showing them, like, hey, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm certain I can get you X results. And then you also have your guarantee, which you have to have, because people don't, when you're selling, you have to take on all the risk, because people are risk averse, and people have a fear of loss, and they don't want to feel like they're shouldering any risk. So you have to take all of that risk. So you have to have a really good guarantee built on authority, obviously. And then I put their future snapshot. So it's like future pacing. Show them what the future self is gonna be like, the future identity that they want to achieve. That's how you structure that future snapshot. So you like, hey, this is a transformation. This is what it's gonna look like. And then you have crossroads, which is people, inertia is a thing, and people will dilly dally. They will procrastinate. They won't take the action they need to. So you need to not force the decision, which is what I wrote there, but you have to show them what will it cost them if they, if they take the road of inaction. What will this mean 1 year down the line? So you have to show them that, hey, if you don't, what's going to happen to you if you don't actually take up this deal? And now, 6 reasons why. You can obviously outline 6 reasons as to why they should choose you. So now, do you see how at the start you're talking about them? It's mainly about them, but then now you're sort of switching to what you can do for them and how your product can help them. But that's the important distinction to make, is that you're starting with them. Never start with your product. Start with their problems, what they're facing, where they want to be. Then you can then slowly start integrating how you can help them and what your company is about. And the then you provide the offer and you trivialize the price. So for example, if you had a subscription that was for £7, you could say for 20 pence a day you can get X and Y result. So it's like you're making the price, you're reframing it so it doesn't seem as much. That's just an example, but that's a way to trivialize the price. And then obviously you have an urgency, um, plus call to action. And the reason why you have an urgency and call to action is that you have to tell people what to do, and also people are lazy. They won't take the desired action if you don't prompt them to. So you have to put urgency in there to be like, okay, this is only for a limited time only, or a certain amount of people that we're taking on to get them to act and to take the desired action you want them to take. And then you have the FAQ, and then you have your final statement, and then a last call to action. This obviously isn't like the full thing in terms of how you would structure your landing page, but these are some of the elements that goes into the landing page, especially when it's like lead generation and you're talking to people who um, are a colder audience, who the trust isn't there yet. And especially this would work for if you had a high ticket, which you're trying to get these people onto a sales call. Having this much information would improve the chances of them turning up to that sales calls and even being sold, depending on how well the information that you provide to them on the landing page. But these 3 elements here, the identification, the belief bridge, as I said, the desire, and also the new mechanism, is very important in terms of shifting people's false beliefs, because people are going to think, yeah, I've seen this before, this is the same shit I've seen that everyone's doing. So that's just a way how to talk to people when it comes to your landing page. Because as I said, your landing page is your digital online salesperson. So you have to think about all the objections, all the questions, because when people are reading your copy, they're not just reading it and not thinking. They as they're reading, thoughts are coming into their head, responses. They're gonna have objections and questions. So you have to program your landing page to dispel every um, objection or any false beliefs that they might have that will stop them from taking the desired action you want them to take. I'm going to end it here. Um, I hope this has been valuable. If you've got some value from this, let me know in the comment, share, subscribe. If you're a business that wants a help with your landing page, email me. My email is in my link in my bio. And I will happily go over your landing page review as a audit, and let you know what's working well and what needs to be improved. and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.